Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Welcome, Levi. Thank you for being my second guest today. And Levi is a young woman in her 30s who grew up in Amsterdam, Netherlands. She enjoys tennis, padel. She's also a freelancer in marketing / branding.
Exactly.
And like I said, she is my second ever guest. Welcome to Depth by Design.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And the point of today's episode is we want to learn a little bit about Dutch culture.
Okay.
And understand how, Amsterdam has shaped you personally. How we think, right? And I also want to talk a little bit about fitness as well and how fitness fits into your life, because this podcast is about meaningful adventure and living full lives. And in my point of view, that includes, discussing things like health and fitness. So I'm going to start off with a finding from the 2024 World Happiness Report. And they found that the Netherlands ranks as the 6th happiest country in the world out of 143 countries. And I have a research background, so I like to kind of explain how it was measured. So it was, 6th out of 143. And the happiest country in the world was measured by, so people just in the Netherlands tend to subjectively evaluate their well-being overall as higher than other individuals in other countries, is what that means. So what do you make of this finding? Are you surprised?
I'm very proud. Oh, wait, don't touch it. I was a little bit surprised because the Dutch culture is very complaining.
Interesting.
We're always complaining about the weather. It's either too cold or too hot, or it's raining, or it's too long. It hasn't rained for days. And we have, I think, the most words for rain in
whole really?
Of the
I did not
world.
Know this.
Yeah, we have like, I think, 30 different words for rain.
That's crazy.
So when you know all those things, I didn't thought we were in the top 10, but I'm very proud because I'm happy living here and I don't want to live anywhere else. So, and if I ask people, they don't want to live anywhere else as well. So I reckon then it's a good country to live in.
Yeah, it's so nice to hear, because I don't always hear Dutch people talk about like being proud of where they're from.
I'm proud, but you have like one of a kind with me. I'm proud. I never complain about the Netherlands, but you have a lot of people complaining.
I think that's also human nature, right?
Yeah.
You just complain about what you know.
Yeah,
and,
true.
But it's nice to hear, because a lot of times I think, I don't know, like, is it more of like an American thing? I mean, there is that kind of American thing of like, proud of where you're from, USA, and it's less so maybe in European countries. But it's nice to hear, because it's not always that people don't feel that way. They just might not maybe express it as much. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think that you're right. Like, American people are very proud of the country, and they see a lot of like the flags are everywhere and stuff. And I think in Europe, the only like country I know who is very proud is like France. Like French people are very, very proud of being French. And if you don't speak French, they don't want to talk to you because they're elite, which I kind of love as well, because you come from that city, you are from that country, you are that person. So you need to be proud of where you come from and who you are.
I agree. And I always wonder how much of myself as a person was shaped from where I grew up versus like how much of it is like
from yourself. When you were like dropped in another country, how you would have ended up. I get it.
And obviously it's a mixture of both, right? Environment and kind of goes to like genetics, who you are.
I think so, because also in the Netherlands, my dad is from Amsterdam, like the core of Amsterdam, and my mom is from the south of the Netherlands, which is a whole different experience, although it's only 200 kilometers away. But I think it's a good mix if you have those two things. And I wouldn't be the person I am today if I grew up in a whole different country. So
Yeah.
I think it really, yeah.
Yes. So I guess this kind of leads well into like the question of like how you think growing up in the Netherlands or Amsterdam has shaped you as a person. And right,
Yeah.
it's hard to tell. You don't know for sure.
Yeah, you don't know for sure, but we are very direct. And every time I used to work in other countries a lot, and that they always told me like, "Oh, you're so Dutch," because so somewhere inside of me, it's here, but I don't know. Like maybe it's a 50-50, or if you drop me in another country when I was like 5, I would be very different. I think
Yeah.
so, maybe.
Right. So one thing then would be, it sounds like you think the Dutch directness has kind of shaped you.
Yeah.
Do you think for better or for worse, or both?
Oh, I think both, because oh, what I like about it is that we don't beat around the bush that much, and you just know in like 5 seconds what's the plan. Do I like you? What, instead of like taking hours. And so I kind of like it. But when I'm in another country like America, everybody's so nice, and that's also make you feel a little bit better about yourself. So it has its pros and cons, I think. But I like the fastness of it. Like when you're direct, you don't wait for.
There is an efficiency
Yeah.
to it that I definitely appreciate. An efficiency, kind of straight to the point. But I think it was really interesting when I went back home to the US in August. I had like forgotten just like how just going to the stores, or like I went back to physical therapy in the US, and just like the difference of like the secretary like
how nice
asks you,
everybody
and it's
is.
like she starts talking about her barbecue and her uncle, blah, 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 you know, and I kind of like forgot.
Yeah.
So I just got so used to like the rhythm. Everyone's doing their own thing. And I think too, sometimes the US gets bad rep, like, oh, it's so fake. But like a lot of times, like those experiences of like, oh, the secretary saying hi and talking about her barbecue, like there's nothing, at least in those experiences, like fake about that. That's just kind of how it is. And people just kind of they're like, you know, my PT's like stretching my leg and he's like chit-chatting. And I think those I think, you know, that can happen, like even with physical therapy now. Like, okay, I build a relationship with a physical therapist over time, so you start, you know, getting to know each other more. But just kind of those things right off the bat. But also on the flip side, sometimes it is fake, right? Sometimes it is like,
and that's what I can't. I don't know how to act on people who do that. I'm getting so confused, because I don't know. Do I need to go fake back? Do I like come to the point and say, well, we don't like each other, but we need to do we are in business together? I'm always so confused when people do that to me. But I think that when you are like the receptionist and you talk about the barbecue and stuff, I think you give people a little bit of a happy vibe, and that's when people are getting happier during the day, and everybody's just spreading love. And I think that's very important. But that being said, you're an expat in Amsterdam.
Yes.
When you're an Amsterdam person in Amsterdam, especially, we do that to each other, but we only do it to each other because we don't know how to do with expats. So I know all the neighbors, and everybody's asking me like, how's your day? What are you doing with King's Day? Well, everybody's talking to me. Are you single? I have a nice nephew, blah, blah, blah. And that's because I'm Dutch. People approach me faster than maybe like, because when I was like 24, I had an American roommate as well, and she experienced the exact same things. But that's because we don't know how to approach you guys, so we just do it to each other.
No, thank you for bringing it up, because that's an important point to like remember. How, right, it's just how I'm experiencing things has a lot to do with kind of I don't know if positionality is the right word, but like, okay, I am an expat, right? I am like an outsider to the culture, and it's not like people necessarily are like, and I don't get vibes that like people are mean. Like that's not what I mean. But
no, I know, but we're more with ourselves. I think than
Yeah.
like communicating and how was your day and just explaining like about a barbecue. But that's what
Yeah.
people do to me, but only because I'm the, yeah, how do you say it? I'm the authentic insider of, I think maybe
Yeah.
because I grew up here, so people know me from since I was like,
Oh, really? Okay.
so
Yeah,
then
that's
it's,
whole.
yeah. But if you don't, like now I live on, which is not my original street. Um, and when I moved in, and I saw people on the street, I introduced myself and I'm like, hi, I'm your new neighbor, blah, blah. And I'm just chatting away. And I think that when you're an expat, people don't do that much. Or
Yeah, I think it's definitely more on the expat, or at least I'm talking from my experience. Like, it's, I know I have to be the one to maybe take the first step and introduce myself, because I don't always expect other people to,
yeah,
maybe, especially if you grew up here all your life, and people are familiar with you. You already have a network, and people are kind of used to, I don't know, just living their everyday lives. They
hmm,
don't necessarily, and like with me, like I know, okay, I'm here. I don't have necessarily like a big network, and I can't just like expect that to happen.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
have to be willing to go a little bit outside your comfort zone,
Yeah.
and
Well, and you're American, but people don't know that about you. And I know that American people are very like chit chatty and very sweet and complimentary. And but you have a lot of other like countries who are not like that, but you can't see
mm,
it on the outside.
yeah.
So you don't know how to. There are so many like cultures in Amsterdam, so you never know where you're from immediately. So I think that's the big difference as well, because you have a lot of people who don't want to be talked to and who don't want like the neighborhood vibe and the chit chatting, and so you never know, yeah, who you run
Yeah, and
into.
you never know. And um that's, I mean, and that's why I think like I still try to still take the chance of like reaching out and introducing myself. And then if
Yeah,
someone's kind of like, yeah, I just want to do my own thing,
yeah, yeah,
then that's like fine, right?
fine,
You
yeah,
don't push it. But then it's, you have to take an active role, I think, especially as an expat, in like pushing yourself and doing things out of your comfort zone to try and build, a network from scratch.
yeah.
And going back to,
Yeah.
Netherlands being like the happiest country in the world,
Mm-hmm.
what certain things about the culture do you think might be contributing to people's happiness here?
I think I'm not sure about the culture, but I think we have this. I don't know what the English word is for it, but taking care system, a zorg, when you get sick,
Okay, the
the
healthcare
healthcare
system.
system is like one of the best we have here, because everybody needs insurance, everybody
Mm-hmm.
is insurance, and I think in other countries that's not really the vibe. And if you lose your job, you've been taken care of as well. And I
Mm,
think that in especially the US, you kind of are on your own, and you need to get a job somewhere which you don't like just to get paid. And
mm-hmm.
it's a different like structure. I think the government here is doing a really good job also with the roads and the trees and the
Mm.
it's so different when you ride out of the Netherlands and you ride into Belgium. No offense, Belgium, but it's like a whole different vibe. They have like not really steady roads, and it doesn't look that nice. And I think if everything looks nice, you feel nice. So I
Yeah.
think like how they do it, that is a big, yeah, plus for how people feel, how everything looks and how you've been taken care of. And in the culture, I'm never quite sure because we are so direct and we are a little bit like maybe meanish, not really the sweetest, but I think because it's very small,
Mm-hmm.
everybody has this I know each other vibe,
Okay.
which feels like a family. So if I'm in another country and I see somebody who's from,
Mm-hmm.
you immediately bond like Yeah, we're the authentic ones or something like that.
We're the
Yeah,
OGs.
we're the OGs. And I
Yeah.
think that helps as well because you feel really, well, if you see what happens in the world right now, and it's like a shit show everywhere, you feel really blessed and happy that you live in a city where everything is, yeah, taken care of.
Yeah, it is very much a compact city. So even like I
Yeah,
know you're talking about kind of like the feeling of small, but it's also for such a big city with so many inhabitants. It's very compact and
yeah,
easy to get, like compared to like a city like Berlin, which
yeah,
I was at in recently, which just felt like, traveling to one side of Berlin to the other is just a whole different
yeah.
experience.
It's a
It's
whole
so much
different,
bigger.
like it takes you like 2 hours, I think, from east to
Yeah.
west, or and here it's taking like a half an hour.
Yeah.
So I
So
think that
yeah,
everybody.
yeah. One thing that's interesting that I didn't hear you say was you didn't mention anything about bikes.
Oh, yeah. I have a hate love with the bikes.
Bikes. Okay, okay.
I used to like ride a bike a lot, but now there's so many bikes that it's like I have a bike. Yeah. Maybe that's a big plus as well because I have lived in Landsmeer, which is like
Mhm.
in the north of Amsterdam, and then I needed to take the car everywhere, and my morning routine was so different because you're sitting in the car and you're not as happy as you're riding the bike.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think that's, but I didn't think about it because it's not special for me. So
I
it's
know,
like
that's
that.
why I brought it up because
Yeah.
I find that so interesting. Uh Dutch people's relationship with bikes
Yeah.
because
It's
well,
normal.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like what you know. It's what
Yeah.
you know and it's how it's always been. And for
Yeah.
me, like one of the reasons why I came here is I was so enchanted by the bike
Yeah. Everybody's telling me
culture
that. Yeah.
because it's so different
Yeah.
from what I grew up with. And I really wonder, like, is that a big contributor to also why people are so happy?
I
Like,
think
because,
so. It's a really good thinking because you have like the workout, actually. You working out is good for your body. So immediately you feel better.
you're outside.
Yeah.
And I mean, also, too, I mean, having a car has its upsides, but it's also mostly, in my experience, like a pain in the ass because, like, it's another responsibility. And especially growing up in the US, like, it's nice until it like breaks down
Yeah.
and then you have to take it to a shop and you have to like coordinate with people for however long it takes for it to be fixed or whatever, to have people drive you everywhere, so then you're dependent
Yeah.
on people driving you everywhere until it's fixed, and then
Yeah.
that costs money and
Yeah.
then gas.
True.
So like
Yeah. 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 True. Never
i
thought about that. Yeah.
i like don't know if I can ever go back to like this responsibility of having a car because like it's just like, oh, it's like
I love a
another,
car, but I don't love it
right?
in the city.
We always love, yeah, we always put more, I think, beauty on the things that we are not used to
Yeah.
and don't have as
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
than uh, the
Yeah.
things that
True.
we are used to. Um, like I'm like, don't get me wrong, I was like blessed to like have a car, especially in the US, and like I was able to take a car up to college and I could,
Hmm.
go home when I wanted to. And but like you need it for everything in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
US
Yeah.
unless you live in like New
Everything
York
is.
City.
Yeah. Exactly. Everything is so
um
far away from each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
And with here, another thing, like with the car or even just public transport, like you don't have to think about where to park or like how to
Yeah.
get back to your car.
Yeah. No. True.
And you just
Yeah.
like, you can just go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Just,
there's a
yeah.
beauty to that versus like, where are we gonna park? How are we gonna get back to the
Yeah. And
car?
the
And blah, blah, blah.
expensive, it's expensive because you pay like almost
Yeah.
like I think eight euros an hour now for the car to park. So if you
In
want,
Amsterdam,
yeah,
yeah,
if you
yeah.
want to park your car for a day, it's cost you at least like 150 euros.
I mean, gas here is like really expensive.
Yeah.
I was comparing to the prices in
In the US.
Pennsylvania
Yeah.
because it kind of
Yeah.
varies state by state. It's like
It's
it's
almost
more
a
expensive
luxury if you
here.
have a car here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a luxury, but people still have it because I think the public transport in the US is way cheaper than here. Here it's very expensive.
Public transport.
Yeah, to do the train and the bus, and it costs so much money. So people are like, I could like for the same amount of money, I could have a car, and that's why
Yeah.
people buying a car.
Yeah, it is. I think don't I'm not exactly sure if this is right, but I think the Netherlands is like the second most expensive public transport in Europe.
I reckon. I don't know it, but it doesn't surprise me at all.
I think the first is Switzerland, but there's a pretty big gap though between what it costs in Switzerland and Netherlands, so it's still definitely way cheaper.
And what is funny, it's never on time, so it's very expensive, but they don't fix it the right way. You always too late or anything. So I think that when we talk about it, the bike definitely is a big happy place for like people in Amsterdam.
But I can also understand why people complain about it so much because
because it's raining a lot.
It's raining
so you're like in the rain on your bike, and that's not nice.
Yeah, it's not nice, especially when you're going somewhere like for the day. Like I find it like
when you come home,
it's like more like freeing and I'm alive. The rain, and you don't have to worry because you can get changed.
But Dutch people have that as well, because you like if you go through the rain on your bike and you're coming home, you can have an apple pie piece because you deserve it. And that's what they do so well on the commercials as well. You have like Unox, which is I think one of the oldest like food like sausages in the Netherlands, and all their commercials are people like riding their bikes in the rain, coming home, and then you have this Unox like sausage on table, and you're like, yes, I made it.
They know their audience. Good marketing. Good marketing.
So I think it's a happy place for people when it's raining as well, because it's
So kind of, I guess, so we're talking about, biking and also how that kind of fits into Dutch culture, and also the fact that maybe, there's so much physical activity already tied into biking.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good segue into maybe talking a little bit about health and fitness. So what role does fitness and health play in your life?
Well, a big role right now, because I don't like to work out, but I like the feeling after I work out. Yeah. So I need to work out every day. And I think that in Amsterdam, there are so many like opportunities to work out and so many different kind of sports that with ClassPass coming, everybody's like working out these days, for my feeling, instead of like 10 years ago.
Okay.
When ClassPass wasn't here, people didn't have the motivation that much as they do now, because you have so many different options to do. So if you don't feel like going to, I think like 10 years ago, there were only gyms. And now you have like PLTS and Saints and Stars, and you have all these different like working out stuff that in my life, it's a big, I don't want to do it, but I have to because it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah. And I think personally, like you never regret after doing a workout.
No, exactly.
You never like, oh, wish I didn't do that.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously, unless you like injure yourself, like don't go that far where you injure yourself or something like that, but you never really regret it. And most of the time, the days where I don't feel like it and I just kind of push myself a little bit, you just feel like, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
And I just think there's so many parks in Amsterdam as well.
Oh, you think so?
Really? I don't know.
I never thought about it. I don't know, actually. We have two big parks. So
it feels like a lot in close proximity.
Yeah, true.
To each other. And it's such a nice little break sometimes from like, all the bikes and the cars. And
well, what I think is very surprising was that when I went to like New York, you had the big park. What's the name again? Do you know it?
Central Park.
Yeah, Central Park. And people drove their cars through it. And I was like, what? Then it's not a park, because now it's just like a road with a lot of trees or something like that. So that's what I like about Amsterdam, that when you go to the park, there's only like people or on their bikes or walking, running, and there are no cars or scooters or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's when people are like my friends who run. they love that as well because they always take the Vondelpark or always
Yeah.
take a piece of the Westerpark to like. So I get it. Yeah, the parks are.
Yeah, I think too. I'm just like really loving the parks right now since I've started to get into running.
Yeah.
So, and that's also just a really nice place where you don't have to like constantly stop at like crosswalks.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah,
just
yeah.
like
You can go,
go.
go, go. You have no excuse to stop.
Yeah, yeah, no excuse. Take a rest.
You need to move
Yeah,
on.
yeah, and
But
yeah.
do you like running on the streets of Amsterdam? Because I used to run a lot, but then I didn't like because the streets are not that like with all the small. How do you say it? Tegels?
Like cobbles, the bricks.
Yeah. People get injured there a lot, right?
I will sometimes run just around the streets, but only like early in the morning on weekdays
when people are not here.
Yeah, when there's not a whole lot of cars. That's kind of also a really cool thing about Amsterdam is like, and I think it's also more of a European thing where it's like nothing opens until, especially on weekends, till 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So you can go out early on a Sunday
and there's no one.
No one, and it's so nice,
So
especially
peaceful.
for such a big city, and I can like not worry about getting hit by more cars and like things like that. So I think that's.
And you start your day way chiller when you wake up early and see the city while nobody's like open yet.
Yeah, where the hustle and bustle hasn't started yet.
No, true.
And when my family came here, that was like a really big stark difference for them because my dad was like waking up looking for coffee at 8 a.m. and he's like, hey, are you open here? And they're like, no, we don't open until 10. He's like, no, it's open around here.
Sometimes it's annoying. I'm having a 50-50 moment on it because sometimes I'm like, oh, it could be so nice if I could just have a matcha latte somewhere, but you have to wait until all the shops are open. Yeah, and that's true.
That's kind of the relaxed European way, which is beautiful. And
was that in Berlin? Were they also open like late? Do you remember?
They were. I think so. I don't know. It's kind of a blur, right? I was there for a week, and we were kind of sleeping in, being lazy. So it was a whole different routine. A whole different
experience. Yeah,
exactly. But my family, like, I enjoyed Berlin, but my family loved Amsterdam.
Yeah.
They said they would be more likely to come back to Amsterdam, and they just love the vibe here and like the bricks. And there's something about like the whole city has just like character, with like the crooked houses and like for me, and I do agree that with Amsterdam, it's really easy to incorporate fitness, I think. Even
more than in maybe because in the US everything is quite far away from each other. Before you hit the gym, you're like an hour drive or something, or
and even so already just built into Dutch culture, at least, is bike and walking.
Yeah, true.
US, that's not built in, so therefore you have to make way more of a conscious effort
to walk
to get your steps in.
Yeah.
While here you don't like. I'm just walking to go to the store to pick up, so you're able to do more things. So it's already kind of built in. True. Way more.
I remember that my friend from New York, who lived there for a long time, she always visits me like every 4 or 5 months. And the first couple of times she came to Amsterdam, she was like, well, I picked my running shoes because when I'm with Levi, I have to walk all the time. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And she's like, I never walk because how do I walk in America? You take the car somewhere. And I was like, what? How many steps do you do? And she's like, if I don't plan it in, I don't make a lot of steps.
Yeah, so you have to really...
Yeah, in our nature, it's like you at least have like 6,000 steps a day and you don't even have to bother because when you take the car, it takes way more time than that you walk, I think.
Oh,
so I think it's I never thought about it that way, but I think, we're healthy.
Which probably contributes to that happiness ranking.
I never thought about this. So I learned
good.
something new today.
I love that. So I think I want to end with one final question. And what is kind of one piece of advice or lesson you wish you knew in your 20s?
Overall, or about sporting or Amsterdam?
It can be whatever route you want to take it.
My piece of advice: don't think too much about what other people think of you. Just do. People have an opinion anyway, so just do whatever makes you feel happy. And either you're too fat or too skinny, or you wear too much makeup, or you look tired, or it doesn't matter what you do.
Or you look too refreshed.
Yeah, or you look too refreshed. No, so I don't think it doesn't matter at all. You just need to like find something that makes you happy and just do it. I think that's the advice. If I was like, if I could talk to my younger self, I would like advise that. Well, is that like a grandma advice?
No, I think it's like, it's so true.
Yeah.
And you kind of always like hear stuff like that.
Yeah,
growing up, and you're like, but it's a whole different experience to actually internalize it and make it real and like something you can actually believe in. And I think that's like, it has to be part of everyone's journey. They kind of go through that.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out and really make that true and actually live it. I think, you know what I mean?
I think that's true. And I think when I was in my 20s, there was this interview I was reading, and there was this guy, because in your 20s, like, small problems are really big problems, because those are the big problems at that age.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this guy, and he just told me, like, there are almost no problems that don't go away. So don't beat yourself up about it. Don't think about it too much. Just, it's gonna get away in like a couple of days or even weeks, but you won't think about it again in a year. And I think that was the biggest advice I took on when I was in my 20s, which made me very happy, because I could really overthink. And I could, like, if there was a little problem, even on school or with my study or with a guy I was dating, or don't take life too serious, enjoy it. And life is beautiful as it is. So
yeah, I think, you know, there's the saying like, okay, all good things come to an end, but that also applies to bad things as well. All bad things come to an end. And I think just remembering that can help you achieve I want to say homeostasis, like a stable baseline. Like, you know, things are really, really great right now. Like, I'm going to ride it out, enjoy it while I can, because I know I'll get back. You know, it's not going to last forever. But also, you also have to remember that during bad times as well, because sometimes it can feel like,
there's no end.
No ending.
Like, this is going to change my life forever. And 9 out of 10, it's not really the case, and nothing is really going on. And
like, sometimes if it does change your life,
it may be for the better.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's a good place to end to wrap up.
This was my grandma advice.
No. You're still young and living your life. True. So thank you, Levi.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I want to give you to thank you for coming on my podcast.
Cupcake?
Yeah, this is a muffin I made.
I love it. Thank you.
It's not my best batch. I've made better batches, but
I like the previous one.
It's the thoughts that count.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.